There's only one person to speak to, the director of campaigns at the excellent Sex Matters. Hey, Macarena, Fiona Macarena, how are you? Good morning.
I'm very well. How are you?
I'm all right, mate. And you lot always put this into perfectly obvious terms to me. Am I wrong? We've now got a situation where a man dressed as a woman is not allowed to use a female toilet, but if you do see them doing it, you're not allowed to challenge them at all. It's ludicrous.
Well, let's just celebrate first the fact that we finally have this guidance, and all those people who were saying, oh no, I'm not going to follow the law, I'm not going to act on the Supreme Court judgment, I'm waiting for guidance, they have no excuse anymore. We've been through this guidance with some care, Jeremy. It does say you can challenge, and it does say you can ask someone to leave, but it says it very cautiously, it's buried deep in there. But, you know, what we would say is if someone doesn't want to be challenged because they're in the wrong facilities, don't go in. You know, the problem we've got here is that people are no longer confident that when they go into a single-sex facility that there won't be, that's meant to be women only, there won't be a man in there. And if men would stop going in there, then no one would be challenged, would they? So I think the guidance, it does say, it says you have to be respectful and careful and all that kind of stuff. But the bottom line is it's pretty clear that we are now returning to some kind of common sense, and we welcome that. And it's not just toilets and changing rooms, it's other important things like single-sex associations, so lesbians can have their lesbian nights again, and dating apps without being forced, being confronted by men who claim to be lesbians. It's sport, which is a huge area. It's, you know, it's everywhere where someone has said, look, sex really matters here. I need it to be women only or girls only, or even, you know, men only, boys only. And we can do that confident that the law backs us.
Can I ask, the reason that I always turn to Sex Matters are because you lot know so much and you always put it so well. So the guidance from the Supreme Court was that, you know, it should be based on biological sex. I get that. It's taken Phillipson a year. We picked up a loophole which you say isn't actually relevant, although you have to dig to find it. Male toilets, female toilets, disabled toilets. What's the answer to the transgender debate? Is it they should have their own toilet? What is common sense as the answer to this? Because it's not going away.
No, and the vast majority of people, you know, 99% of people are male or female and happy to use those toilets. And what we're talking about here is how do we help a small percentage of people who know what sex they are and don't like it? Yeah. Now, the fact is they're still able to use the toilets of their sex unless a woman who's taken so much testosterone that she's grown a beard and looks like a man, clearly she's going to unsettle other women as she goes in the women's. So for those rare people who really should not or cannot use the facilities for their sex, there are generally unisex or accessible options. And, you know, disabled people will tell you life is hard if if you don't conform to the norms. It's more difficult. You have to plan. But nowadays, there's a lot more accessible and unisex provision than there used to be.
We talk about, you know, how common sense has prevailed. Phillipson is the Equalities Minister and the Education Minister. Do you think this was finally instigated by her in a begrudging way?
I think it's been very carefully vetted so that it is not likely to be challenged legally by anyone. So that because trans activists and trans people were told for years that they had rights they didn't have, and so they're finding it hard to stomach reality. But, you know, they never did have the right to go in the opposite sex changing rooms or facilities or sport. So I think it's been written, you know, very carefully to try and cover that off. And that's why that thing you picked up, Jeremy, is written like it is, I rather suspect. There's a sort of caution about challenging people because they know it won't be popular to say to someone, I'm sorry, but are you a woman? Should you be in here? But eventually it gets to the point which is you can do that. And what's more, you must do that because otherwise you're failing everyone else. If you do not keep men out of women's private spaces, then all those women are losing their privacy. And really we should be pointing to the individuals themselves and saying, you know what sex you are, you know the right thing. Do not impose where you're not supposed to be and where you know it makes other people uncomfortable.
Couldn't agree more. Lovely, seriously, to have you on. Have a fantastic... Oh, just very quickly, don't you? Very quick.